da 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 da. It's back. It's lazy time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review a pack about movies and comics too. Let's all go watch Hello everyone, I'm LazyDude99. Yes, I am finally back doing regular reviews, and let's not waste any more time. New intro, new stuff, and new Star Wars. Holy crap, I mean, okay, we all of us Star Wars fanatics had that day when we all thought, well, the Star Wars movies are over. The prequels were the last we're ever going to see of the franchise. It just ends on such a sour note. It just doesn't fit right. But that's going to be it. That's going to be the end. And now, we have The Force Awakening. Da-da-da! So, I'm not going to go into the fact that I was a humongous Star Wars fan just like everybody else, because we're all Star Wars fans. Let's talk about the movie, okay? Let's just do that. Okay, so this takes place a few years after. We don't know how many years. We can kind of guess by, the last time how old they were, so we can guess what's it been, 30 years, 40 years, something like that. Anyway, since the last movie, the last good movie of the franchise, Return of the Jedi, and now it's been an interesting time for the galaxy, because now we have the First Order. They have risen out of the Empire. They are still stormtroopers. They're basically still the Empire. They just call themselves the First Order. So they have a raid on this planet, which has this guy getting information of the location of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker has disappeared. Nobody knows where he is. And he's not even in any of the trailers, so nobody knows where he is. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so Luke Skywalker is gone. Nobody knows where he is, and we got to try to find him. So we can, and the First Order. It's going to be hard not to call them the Empire, because they're still basically the Empire. But the First Order is after this information to find Luke, and the Resistance, because it's a kind of a weird politics system, but we have the Republic, which is the regular army thing, but we also have the Resistance that is trying to go against the First Order. Anywho, so we have them trying to get everyone, it's a mad dash. We get this little droid that gets this data, then everyone's after the little droid to get the data, and it's a whole mess. And along the journey, the little droid runs into this girl named Rey, who is on this desert planet, which is not Tatooine for some reason. But in any case, so she runs into this girl then runs into this, up on the Star Destroyer. This stormtrooper realizes he doesn't want to be a stormtrooper. He breaks out the rebel guy that had the information, and this sets them all on a whole journey. This new stormtrooper, he's just recently named in the very beginning. His name is Finn, and he is then meets up with Rey. They both have the droid, try to go on through the journey to stop the new First Order while they are being pursued by Kylo Ren, who is basically Darth Vader light. So I was one of the people. I was out there the night before the premiere, and I stayed out there. Was there 2 hours before it aired. Got the whole deal down. Because you know what? I'm a Star Wars fanatic, and I always want to... Okay, I'm not a fanatic. There's people that have way more of the fanatic title than me. I'm just a really big fan. But I was there. I saw... What do I think about it? It's good. Yeah, it's kind of like... I don't want people to get me wrong on this, because I want to say that I really like this movie. Is it better than the prequels? Obviously, 100%. Way better than the prequels. There's still a lot of things, though, that I kind of have problems with this movie. But overall, the pros way outweigh the cons, Let's just look at the cast. All great, I like this guy as Finn. I like this girl as Rey. And I like this guy as Poe. He was actually really cool, even though he didn't really get to do anything. There are some missteps here and there, which I will get into. I'll try to go for non-spoiler for the first part, and then I'll get into a spoiler part of the review, because I really don't want to spoil anything for this. But, all the characters that we love are all there except for Luke Skywalker. But to be fair, the whole plot of the movie revolves around where is Luke? Why did he go? Where, what is he doing? Is he part of the dark side, or is he part of the good side? All those questions are brought up. So even though he's not really in the movie a whole lot, the plot still revolves around him. So he then, we then get this whole thing where everyone's going after this information, but it's incomplete. Han Solo is probably, out of the original cast, he gets the main role in this franchise. He's the main one that gets to do all of this. I'm not saying he's the main character, because he's not. It's more Rey and Finn, or they're the main characters. But he is one of the central characters to the franchise. And that is interesting to see. Now, Harrison Ford, what can I say? He's Han Solo. You can't go wrong with him. He's Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford is Han Solo. And I don't think that you can really complain about it, because he's playing Han Solo just like he normally would. There's tons of funny lines in this movie. Well, one of my favorites is when there's something's going on, and he says, "All right, you guys hide. I'll talk my way out of this, just like I do every time." And Chewie growls something, and he's like, "Yes, I do. Yes, I do every time." And it's just like, that is so Han. That is right there, Han Solo. Totally great. Love you, Harrison. Good job. It hits on all the right nostalgic notes. Now you might ask, okay, like the flight, the spaceship scenes are great. The lightsaber scene is good. It's not as epic. Lots of people are going over for it. I felt it a little underwhelming, but I still thought it was really good. The whole movie is good, pretty well set up and well plotted. I have some things with it. For example, I'm not big on this guy, Kylo Ren. Lots of people are saying how he's more human as a villain. I'm like, yeah, he's more human, but he's also less interesting in my mind. Like, some people might say that makes him more interesting, and, in theory it should. I just found that, let me put it this way. In the original Star Wars trilogy, Vader never really loses till the end. Now you might say, well, what about the Death Star? Think about it this way. Vader did everything right in that Death Star battle. It was only because of the guy who was flying beside him that knocked him out of the way, because he panicked when Han Solo came in. It's possible that Vader could have used his force powers to outmaneuver the Millennium Falcon and get it down. Possible, but the Millennium Falcon is a more protected ship than a TIE fighter. But you know what I mean? Like, Vader didn't do anything wrong in the first Star Wars film that it was a big mistake that he lost. Kylo Ren doesn't really have that. Vader doesn't really lose at all till, the final episode of Star Wars, and even then, that's when he is finally defeated by Luke Skywalker. That's the whole thing with Vader. That's why he's such a great villain. This Kylo Ren guy, I don't get that same feel of menace, because I guess for one thing, and I don't know if this is a legitimate criticism, the guy's face looks too kind. I don't think he can pull off menacing, which is also weird to say, because I don't think he has the voice or the presence to pull off this type of character that you should be totally afraid of. I feel more sorry for him than afraid of him, and I'd rather feel like this villain could do some damage. But on the other side of the spectrum, the other characters all act really well, Like, there's this Poe guy and this Finn guy, they barely spend any time together, and yet, there's a scene where, oh man, oh, you're great, oh good, they're all excited to see each other. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, you guys just had one other scene together, but they play off of each other really well. It's going to be interesting to see how this franchise moves forward, because what I will say about this one, this is a great restart button. It sets everything up of the new Star Wars, that it still maintains the old Star Wars, but it is moving forward with these new characters, and I'm interested to see where it goes with that. Although, quick note, couldn't they have named this Poe guy, couldn't they have given his last name Antilles? I'm just saying, the guy, he's an amazing starfighter pilot. It's been enough time, he could be the son of Wedge Antilles. Couldn't they have done that? I mean, just a passing of the torch, since when Wedge Antilles never got to be a main character, he's always one of the side characters. Why don't they have one of Wedge Antilles' son be a new mainstay of the franchise? He's an amazing, It's a nitpick. It's a nitpick, and there probably is going to be enough bloodlines with the characters between the past characters with the other ones that we don't know, that we already know of. Because okay, let me just. I don't want to. No, that's in the spoilers. I won't go into that. But the characters are all pretty good. I say the ones that I kind of have a little struggle with is the villains. I think that some of the commanders of the Imperials, they added a little bit too much of a corny voice, you know? Like, oh, I'm an Imperial officer. You know, you look at the original Star Wars, the Imperials, a lot of the officers, they played it straight. Admiral Piet, Grand Moff Tarkin, they played it like they were just soldiers in a war. They didn't play that they were the Imperial officers. And I kind of get that a little bit from these guys. I would have liked, you know, a deeper look into what has happened to the Imperial. How have they gone from the Imperials to the First Order? What has been the process? How are they still around all these years when basically their main stuff was defeated? And then there's one more thing that I want to go into in the spoiler part of the review. Overall, though, as I say, there was that big flight scene with the Millennium Falcon. Absolutely amazing. Loved that. That was great. The work on all the props and all the alien creatures was great. Even the CGI, although there's one thing in the CGI that I didn't really like, but even then I'm like, it's not that bad because it's supposed to be a hologram, right? So the fakeness you can kind of attribute to that, I would say. My biggest complaint of this Star Wars film, I wish we had a little bit more character building with some of the characters before they got to meet with each other. I mean, we get this Finn guy. He's a stormtrooper, which I actually think is kind of a cool thing to have a stormtrooper be one of your main characters, because stormtroopers they're a classic thing of Star Wars. You know, anybody can recognize what a stormtrooper is and know it, and you know we actually, me and my friend, when we were watching this, we were like, holy crap, the stormtroopers actually hit something. I mean, call the press. But, you know, it was interesting. I would have liked to know, like, what his training was like as a stormtrooper. I don't really have an idea of what he's capable of, you know, sort of thing. Like when you see Luke, Han, and Leia and all that, you kind of get an idea of what they're capable of and what their limits are. I don't really get that with these characters. I don't really know what they're from, what they've done in their life enough to really know how, like, is he on the level with just any stormtrooper? He didn't seem to be a high commanding officer of stormtroopers, so when he's like shooting stormtroopers left and right, why is he being able to do that when other stormtroopers can't seem to hit him? That sort of thing. I would have liked to see more of what they're like in their natural environment, and you know, them talk more a little bit. But in the end, also you gotta get handed off to Abrams that we get to know a lot about Rey, and she doesn't really talk in the first beginning because she doesn't have anyone to talk to. Still, I would like to, you know, it's this character building. I like these characters, but I wanted to learn more about them, and I could have done a little bit more with that. The other plot thing that bothers me a little bit is the plot is kind of a retread of the first one, and I don't like that. Not really. Because, you know, I wanted to see, like, it seems like the Empire or the First Order is kind of at their same power level that they were in the original trilogy, which I don't really like that. Because, like, they have this thing, and I'm just like, holy crap, how did they get the manpower and the ability to get this thing and make sure that nobody saw them building it? I mean, is the Republic asleep? Or has this First Order been building up a while? Is the galaxy in like a 50-50 conference with the First Order having a big part of the galaxy and the Republic not? You know, having the other half sort of thing. Is it kind of like at a standoff sort of thing? Wouldn't that be interesting if there was like a truce where like the Republic fought the Empire into like a corner, and then they had a truce where the Empire got to keep this part of the galaxy and the Republic got to keep theirs, because there was just like, they were at a stalemate, you know, sort of thing. They couldn't take it over without killing basically all the people on the planet, and so it would be better, you know, and then now they're building up over the years. I decided to listen to the audiobooks of the Thrawn trilogy to hype me up for Star Wars, and boy was that a mistake. Because in that we just get an Empire that is more working they're working from the bottom, and that makes them kind of more lethal. Because this isn't they're in control of anything. This is them taking control. And so we got, if you don't know, there's this guy in the Thrawn trilogy called Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's a humongous strategist, and he's always outsmarting his opponents. And it doesn't matter if they're Jedi or whatnot. He's always outsmarting everybody. And that's the type of villain that I wanted to see. This, I kind of see, we got kind of like Darth Vader and Emperor Light. Like, well, couldn't we have gone in some different direction with the Empire rather than basically having a stand-in for the Emperor and a stand-in for Vader? I don't know. But that's what I think kind of brings the movie down a little bit, is a lot of this seems to be a retread of the original trilogy, and I would have liked it to be more of its own thing. But in the end, I would say that I thoroughly enjoyed Star Wars The Force Awakens. Is it better than any of the original Star Wars movies? No. Is it better than all the prequels? Yes. Is it a good movie? Absolutely. Thumbs up from me. But I would say that I'm not going to go overboard with this film and say it's one of the greatest movies ever made. It might be one of the best movies of the year, but that's mostly because this year has been pretty sour in taste of movies, actually. Compare this year to 2014, woo, not even close. Anyway, I will say that I'm going to give Star Wars, and holy crap, it's just the feeling that I'm giving a Star Wars movie a review score. Wow. It's big. This is nuts. I'm giving Star Wars The Force Awakens a 7 out of 10. It's a good movie. I would say that this is a good setup movie. Where they go with it from here is what I am wanting to know. I hope that we were able to get away from all the typical things that we expect from the Star Wars franchise. You learn more about these characters, why they are making the choices they are making, and you know what? Answer some questions that we have. It's a good setup movie. I'm looking forward to the next one. I hope it's even better than this one. I hope this is all setting up and building up a new thing that is going to end up feeling different from the original trilogy, but still in the same universe. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm wanting. In the end, I thoroughly enjoyed the Star Wars Force Awakens. That's my normal review. Time to get on to the spoilers. So, I didn't really like Kylo Ren for most of the reasons that I've already said. But it's just like there's that moment. Okay, comparing Darth Vader and Kylo Ren, it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. But there's a moment where the moment that Darth Vader kills somebody for failing. Okay, let's compare the time in Empire Strikes Back. The guy brings his fleet out of hyperspace, giving the rebels the time to put up their big shield and to keep them safe so they can't do a tactical bombardment. They have to take their stuff down. When he makes that mistake, Darth Vader then goes over, kills him. Because he failed. He failed doing a typical thing that anybody should know. And so, he needs to die because he made that mistake. There's a scene where somebody says something, he's like, "Sir, this thing that you wanted to happen went wrong." And he just grabs out his lightsaber and he goes, I'm just like, dude, it's less that he is upset and punishing anyone for failing, more that he's throwing a hissy fit, I didn't feel the menace that I should have for Kylo Ren, and poor Han. It's like, I get why they killed off Han Solo. I hope my roommate's not listening. He hasn't seen the movie yet. Oh, that would have been bad. As I said, this is spoilers. But I get why they killed off Han Solo. It was the way that they were doing it, to me, it felt like they were setting up killing Han Solo. They were giving him all this awesome moments, letting him try out Chewbacca's bowcaster, letting him reconnect with Leia, having this whole thing with his son being the one turned to the dark side. All that going on. And it felt like we were telling Han Solo's swan song, his so long, his farewell. Look, I'm trying to think. Wash. Firefly. Wash. When Wash dies, that was a shock. It, shook me to the bone. I was stunned. And at that time, I saw Serenity before Firefly, so I didn't even have that big of a connection with Wash. I just saw him from the movie and I thought he was a good character. But when he died, it was shocking. it was shocking. You know, here I'm just like, as soon as Han Solo's confronting his son, I'm like, well, bye, Han Solo. I guess you're gonna die now. It's nice knowing you. And this is interesting, because now it's setting up the next movie. We're gonna have a Chewbacca with Han Solo. I don't know what that's gonna look like. You know, like I've read or heard in the audiobooks, you know, Chewbacca without Han Solo, where he goes with Leia to do stuff and whatnot. It's just, without Han Solo alive, what's that going to look like? Is he going to go all out to try to kill Kylo Ren? Or is he going to be pushed aside more for the newer characters? I hope they don't ditch Chewbacca on this. Because Chewbacca is a good enough character, and this should affect him in a big way. I don't know whether you want him to go all rage and go in guns blazing only to, you know, I don't know. But, you know, there needs to be something happen, because Chewbacca lost his best friend that he swore a life debt to. Interesting to see. Okay, let's talk about the new big planet bursting thing, or as I like to call it, the Death Star 3.0. Guys, okay, I was actually hoping, not that they have a new Death Star, but I was thinking, what if they didn't have a new Death Star, but they were able to replicate the weapon of the Death Star? You know, the big beam that shoots out of the Death Star. Do you need the whole Death Star to get something like that to work? Or could you replicate it and just have the weapon? You know, what if, I was thinking that, but then they decided, let's go overboard and have this whole planet with the core that absorbs the sun and then shoots it out. And I'll say this, at least the base wasn't destroyed by just torpedoes going down an exhaust port. But it was still a little weird, because it's just like, okay, it's not the Death Star, but it's basically the Death Star, and it didn't have the same weight. And, you know, there's a scene where, you know, this thing destroys like 4 or 5 planets. And you're like, holy crap, whoa. But then they kind of go on like without it. You know, you needed a little bit more of like that effect, you know? Like Leia seeing her whole planet destroyed and like looking in shock, and Obi-Wan staggering down and being like, holy, I just felt a great disturbance in the Force. Now, were those planets inhabited by people? I don't know. I would assume so, or else why fire on those planets at all? It didn't feel as grand or as epic as it should, and it, you know, it needed to feel bigger, you know, like when they're approaching the Death Star in the first Star Wars film, it feels humongous, like you are going into death itself, sort of thing. And I didn't really feel that with this. I felt like this is just the mission, go and fight. And why weren't there any like larger ships? I mean, yeah, they bring on all the X-Wings. I'm like, well, why didn't they bring a frigate? And I really should not have listened to the Thrawn trilogy, because a lot of it is like space combat, so there's a lot of talk about, well, bringing the frigate here and on this angle and bringing it to Star Wars. I'm like, well, like, the X-Wings are good and they're necessary, but you could have brought like a big Alliance frigate, right? And just started shooting down. That would have helped destroy the thing a lot quicker. I will say that overall, I like the movie. I think it's definitely a good stepping on point for the next one. The next one needs to follow Star Wars suit, and few things. It needs its characters to spend more time together. If Poe is supposed to be like, Rey's supposed to be the Luke, Finn's supposed to be the Han Solo, and let's say, I guess that means Poe's supposed to be the Leia, I guess you need to put them together. You know, Star Wars always kind of works in threes. You know, Luke, Leia, Han, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme. That was the kind of thing they go for. So if we're gonna have Poe, Finn, Rey, or I guess it'd be the other way, Rey, Finn, Poe. That sounds like some sort of Taekwondo. Oh, now you will learn Rey, Finn, Poe. Anyway. If they need to be together in a group, But also we got this thing with Luke. Now, Luke, I assume, is probably going to be the new Yoda. You know, he's going to be the old wise master that teaches this new young one. And, okay, I will admit one thing that the trailers did fool me with. I thought Finn was going to be the Jedi. Now, me and my friend, we were talking about, he still could be. You know, he did some impressive things that might point to him having the Force as well. But it's really Rey who has the power of Jedi. And the only way it's really going to work for me is if Rey is the daughter of Luke. You know, I thought for the most part, she's Han Solo's daughter. That's what I was thinking, that maybe she was taken away as a child and she escaped from the Empire somehow and ended up on that planet. But I think now the only way it's going to make sense... Oh, by the way, I just want to take the time. I called that Kylo Ren was going to be Luke's... I called that he was going to be Han Solo's son. I want to say I called it. My friend Dr. J can verify. But anyway, I think that Rey needs to be Luke's daughter because I think this series, the Skywalkers always need to be the main lead. And that was kind of a weird thing where it's like you didn't really know who was the main lead in this movie. I mean, it was like, was it Finn or was it Rey? It was kind of going back and forth between them. And it wasn't until that ending scene where Rey takes the lightsaber where you realize, okay, we're telling Rey's story. It is all about her. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad. You know, I was actually hoping for a female protagonist. Because I'm just like, that adds a new take on the Star Wars franchise. It makes itself different, but if she's a Skywalker, it adds the familiar element. You know, I mean, even if it's the slightest change of just being a girl instead of a guy. That's a small change. But still, it's something that makes it different from the past franchise. Yeah, I don't even know. I think that's all I have to say about this movie. I think it's a good movie. It's a good startup. I'm hoping that the next movies are the ones that, you know, really hit it hard. I don't really like the villains so far. They're pretty boring to me. I need some more... I need to be afraid of them. And right now, I might be able to relate to one of them. But I'm not afraid of them, and I don't really know how they came to be and why. I know that this Snook guy, or whatever it is, seduced Ben to be Kylo Ren, but I don't know how or why and what happened. So in the end, yeah, I've already given my rating. Thanks for watching, everybody. Star Wars is back, and, well, I couldn't be happier. Adios. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.